speaking with Representative Shelley Bosshart Davis, who represents House District 15, which is the Albany area. She also is a mother, first of all, and owns a trucking company, is a farmer. So both in your duties as a legislator and just doing the work you do every day, I think you've really seen how this pandemic has affected the supply chain. And I would love to talk to you about that and also your great recipe for bread.
I know, I'm excited to talk about it. And so the supply chain is everything from when you're talking about food, from something that gets put into the ground to the people harvesting it, to the truck drivers that pull it out of the field, to the warehouse, to the processing plant. It includes the salesman and the tractor salesperson and the people that work in the office. And then of course the processing, and then it gets trucked somewhere else and sold and gets to the grocery store eventually. So it's a complicated process that a lot of people don't understand until it stops working. Or in our case, in the pandemic that we're in, we realize how important those products, whether it's toilet paper or whether the other things that are out, flour, we can't find flour anywhere in some cases, and realizing how important that supply chain is, or talking about medical PPE and medical things that we need that we're realizing came from out of the country or different areas of the country itself. And so how we get these products that we use every day and we're realizing how important they are come somehow to us by ship, by rail, by truck. And there's a lot of people part of the supply chain. So I love talking about it. And more than that, I love that people are realizing the importance. And there's a lot of people that are thanking and being appreciative of all of those people that are still going to work in this pandemic that we're living in these uncertain times. And there's a lot of people saying thank you, from the healthcare workers to the front lines to the supply chain. And so it's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I love seeing it out there.
Well, and I think both you and I have worked in international trade in the past. That's my background, and when we've had a lot of talks about that. And in Oregon, in the last recession, the one part of the economy that stayed strong and really saved us from an even worse recession was international trade. How do you feel that once this is over, how we can get more family wage jobs and manufacturing back to our state?
We are in a place where almost everything we have, whether it's our family budget, the state budget, the economy, our communities, we have a big question mark into what that looks like, our healthcare systems, and we're trying to get through today. And if we can look forward and say, when we can restart this economy, what does that look like? And I think the supply chain and manufacturing and some of the things that we relied on from overseas, we're going to take a hard look at that. And we're going to say, what do we need here in America that keeps our supply chain moving in case there's a pandemic? But it's not just pandemic. There's a few different things that could happen that we would have to rely on ourselves within this border. And that includes more jobs in that manufacturing arena that you and I both love. And I think that that's a great opportunity for here in America and here in Oregon for us to take a look at.
You know, what can we do now, whether it's, ensuring that we have our essential workers, our local farmers, our local farm workers, what can we do now to support our rural communities to get through these next couple of months where, we have to shelter in place to flatten the curve?
Yeah, I think one thing that we're realizing is how much we rely on one another, and how much there's people out there that I know are paying their local hairstylist, regardless of whether we're getting our roots covered up or not, because we're trying to get each other through this time. There are some of us that are still working, and there are some of us that are not. And I see time and time again through people talking on Facebook, people that are dropping off extra food at our local fish or at our local Boys and Girls Club. I think that people understand the need that is out there. We're seeing it, and our local communities are taking care of one another. And it's a little bit going back to basics. What's really important in our lives, and we're seeing maybe some aspects that we can do better at as a community as we're moving forward.
Yeah, it makes me proud to be an Oregonian. I also live in a rural area, and how people are reaching out to take care of those who are most vulnerable it's very heartening in difficult times. So speaking about important, it's important that we eat and eat well and use what we have in our cupboard. So would you like to share your bread recipe or talk about, how do you do this? Do you make bread as a family? I mean,
so I grew up in the Mennonite church, and we cook, we bake, we cook. I love being in the kitchen. And out of my 3 daughters, who are 12, 14, and 17, 17-year-old hates it. The 12 and 14-year-old love it. In fact, I think my 12-year-old is making cake pops right now. So they absolutely love to be in the kitchen, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I don't do it as much, but I'm finding I'm home a little bit more. And you also said using what's in your cupboards. And if one thing that my kids make fun of me for, it's I hate wasting food. Like, what's for dinner? Well, what do we have?
I've heard you say this many times.
But I think one thing that's really cool about us in this this age of technology is we can literally say, okay, I have these 4 ingredients. You throw it into Google, and it's going to give you a recipe that you can use for it. And then also part of us being at home is I didn't have rosemary, so I just used thyme. But it's a super simple recipe. The kids love it, and it's a really good recipe if you've never made bread before to start with, because it's one that I don't think that you can really mess up, especially now that I've given you the tip to not mess up. It ends up being amazing focaccia bread. Eat it with whatever you want. We had some leftovers, so we had it for breakfast the next morning. So it's one of my favorite things, and I've loved being able to go a little bit back to basics and the positive of this time to spend with family and be able to do some of those with my kids in the kitchen.
Well, we're going to try it this weekend. So the next time you make cornbread, try it in your cast iron skillet.
Okay. I'll give it a shot. I will do that.
So thank you for taking the time, and thank you for the work that you're doing for your constituents and for people throughout the state. I know that you've been there, whether it's with your schools, with your local farmers, with your nonprofits, with local, small businesses. I know that you do a lot of outreach and constituent work. So thank you for that. And thank you for spending your time with me today.
I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.